7.5% inflation is now the situation in the country. That is the highest rate since 1982, okay? 40 years since inflation has been this high. 7.5% was the rate that came out today. I want to hit you with this. This staggered me. We were talking about it on Clay and Buck just a little bit ago. In 1982, do you know what our national debt was? $1 trillion. Do you know what our national debt now is 40 years later? $30 trillion. Think about that. From the point we became a country in basically 1776, 1783, whatever start date you want to pick for the United States, to the point now in 1982, we had run up a total of $1 trillion in debt. We are now $30 trillion in debt. In the space of 40 years, we have added $29 trillion to the debt. And by the way, that rate of debt increase has been accelerating massively in the 21st century. So, who owns our debt? China. This is a major obstacle to the battle that we have for global supremacy with the Chinese. They are buying our debt like crazy. See an argument, not an economic expert on this, but that we should cancel all of our debt with China over COVID and the lies that they told. I think it's kind of an intriguing concept. Would probably be a disaster economically, but I'd like to study it to see whether there is any legitimacy to that idea at all, that we should hold them accountable for what they did in creating COVID, maybe with our own tax dollars. This is why we need Dr. Fauci to have to testify as we go forward. But 7.5% inflation, Biden has no answer for it. Wages are not increasing that fast, which means everybody out there who is working is actually making less money this year than they were making last year. And of course, inflation is primarily a tax on the poor, because if you have to spend most of the money that you earn on goods and services, as opposed to having assets like a house or condo that could be increasing in value, you actually are ending up, if you are not very wealthy, being hit the hardest by the rate of inflation, which is why even CNN has Joe Biden at a new low for overall approval rate. The poll that just came out today, 41% approval rating for Joe Biden, 36% among independents, and that number is down massively and is going against a 58% disapproval rate for Joe Biden. This is an unprecedented collapse for a Democratic president. In fact, if you look at the Real Clear Politics average of overall approval rating, where they roll every different poll together, Joe Biden has actually gone below 40%, and he actually has a lower approval rating at this point in his presidency than Donald Trump did, which, given the fact that Trump had historically low rates of approval, at least relative to the polls, if CNN is saying things are bad for Joe Biden, you know they are really bad. I wanted to read this opening line from the overall CNN article, because I think it's pretty significant to hear what exactly CNN is saying. Nearly 6 in 10 Americans disapprove of how Joe Biden is handling his presidency. And most of that group says there's literally nothing Biden has done since taking office that they approve of. This is according to a CNN poll. I mean, what would you approve of, given the fact we got the border situation, all-time illegal immigrant crossings, many cities are hitting all-time murder rates, more cops killed than any year since 1995, more COVID now by far than we had at this point last year. And as we just said, inflation rate all the way up to 7.5%. And I wanted to share with you a couple of things that I thought were pretty wild as we look through and contemplate where we are right now. Joe Biden's approval rating, as recently as December, was around 49%, according to CNN. It now has fallen all the way to 41%. His approval rating, they say, was 52% in September. So that is a mess.